All right, welcome back to Mr. Holloway's Foundational Python Skills series. In this video, I want to cover something really simple, something that you don't really think about, but I want to cover the style guide. And the style guide provides us with a list of recommendations on how to write our code. So just like you write a paper in English, they have various style guides for college papers or for different things. There's also one for Python and for other languages, and they're quite different in other languages as well. So for example, you never thought about where, let's say you write a variable like this. And I see this with beginners all the time where someone will write a variable x with no space is equal to 0. All right, I see that very often. And so it's something that if you have been programming for a while, this line 4 would stick out to you a lot more than this, because this is generally a correct way of doing things. Now, this is going to work. It's going to work either way. Well, in case this is actually not going to work, because I need to change the variable, but yeah, so this will work, no problem. But code is about readability. And so remember that humans read code as well. The machine reads it, but we read it. I may have to read someone else's code. Someone's going to have to read your code. So we want to have kind of just a general idea of how to write code properly. I violate these sometimes. And, it's just a matter of just writing. So I violate some of these rules sometimes. Simply because I'm just may not know the intricacies of certain things that you need to do. But generally there is in the Python community, even if it's outside of the recommended style guide, there is a way of writing code. So for example, let me just give you an example. So another example. So let's say we have like a variable. In Python, we generally don't start with a variable or even a function with a capital letter, right? We wouldn't do first name. Okay. Now this is going to work, right? Let me see. Okay, so that would be the last name. Now this is going to work. There's not going to be any problems, but in general for Python, we would write it with a lowercase, and then what we do is we connect with what we call the snake case. So basically, it's an underscore, and then we do it like that. Okay, this up here is called camel case. In general, you're not going to do anything like that. Okay, so this is the recommended way of writing a variable for a function as well. So if I were to do a function, the recommended way in Python is just do lowercase. So I could say get last name, right? So I actually have 3 words. And I could just do, actually, I'll just put a pass statement here. Okay, so this would be the correct way. But again, if you were to write a method, a function where you would say def get last name, okay, that is going to work as well. But again, it just comes down to what is the standard, what is the way that you actually write a function or a variable. Now, some of you may or may not know, but in Python they have what's called a style guide, and it's quite extensive. So if you look here, I'll put the link in the description. But if you look at this, it's quite extensive. It tells you quite a bit. And again, with all of this, some things are going to be wrong, but some of the basic things like variables and functions, you should follow along. So let's take a look at a few of these. So indentation, right? Indentation, it says use 4 spaces per indentation level, which is recommended. So for example, here's the correct way to do it versus the incorrect way to do it. So here we have a line with an opening delimiter. So we have just different ways of doing things. So when you indent, you want to indent with 4 spaces, tabs or spaces. So Python, the recommended way is spaces are preferred over indentation. I prefer actually tabs. It's just I use them in functions and while loops and for loops and that. But it says the spaces are preferred. Are the preferred indentation method. tabs should be used solely to remain consistent with the code that has already been indented with tabs. So Python disallows mixing of tabs and spaces. So that's one good thing to know. But again, if you use 2, use 4, again, everything's going to work just fine. But it's just, again, the spaces. Let's take a look at a few more. Let's go to functions. Let's see. Oh, actually, let's come here to exception today because I do have a video for that. So exception names, because exceptions should be classes, the naming convention applies here. However, you should use the suffix error on your exception name. So if you're creating an exception, and I do have a video on exception, if you're creating something, you're going to use the suffix error so that someone knows right away it's an error. Here we go. Here's functions and variables. So functions should be lowercase with words separated by underscores to improve readability. And that's the whole thing about a style guide, is just really to improve consistency and readability. Variable names should follow the same convention names. Mixed case. So let's look at this. So a mixed case is allowed only in contexts where that's already prevailing style. So if there's a kind of like someone has already written it there like that, you would continue that. But these are the big ones for me. These are the ones I'm going to follow. But I am guilty of not following the import. So if we look at imports, I have done this before. So the correct way to import let's say a module would be to write them on separate lines and not on one line. So here we're importing the sys and the OS on one line. That is incorrect. It's going to work, but again, just to remain consistent. So I'm actually going to start importing like this because I don't want to anger the Python gods. All right. Now, if you want to look at these, some of the style guides in more detail, I will put this in the put the link in the comments. And again, you don't have to use it. You don't have to follow every single rule here, but I will say it's really important to follow some of the big ones, specifically with like indenting, functions, and variables. I think those are the big ones. Everything else you will kind of learn. So just coming back to here, like for example, I see this line 4 with beginners. You just want to keep spaces separated between your variables and stuff like that. This would be incorrect. So again, for first name, we would do first underscore name, and then we would say, whatever is in the string here. All right. So anyway, just wanted to make you guys aware of a style guide and that they're out there. And again, if you're coming from C# or if you're just beginning, you're coming from JavaScript, it's always a good idea to look at the style guide because what's used in one language is not always used in another language. And Python is quite different in that regard. So anyway, this concludes this video, and I will see you in the next video. If you like the video, please like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next video.